So, today is mine and Amy's anniversary. We've been together now for 10 years and married for one. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about relationships and what I think has helped us in our relationship, and maybe if you're in a relationship as well, you might draw parallels with this. But here's my views on it. So, one of the big things with being in a relationship with somebody for a long time is that both of you will change as a person over time. And you've got to not take each other for granted, and you can't just assume that because you're in a relationship now that it all ends. You've got to constantly work on your relationship to make it work, and to not take your other partner for granted. So that's a really big part of it, and changing as you both change. So the people that me and Amy are today, though there are similarities, we are different people to what we were 10 years ago. There's no way that 10 years from now would find Amy from 10 years ago. You know, there's no way we would date now. We're different people. We're different people. Yeah, we've matured. But by that, by the way, I mean that older me wouldn't date younger Amy, and older Amy wouldn't date younger me. If that makes sense. So you've got to adapt as a person. You can't take each other for granted. I also think it's really important to be each other's rock and have emotional intelligence, and be aware that sometimes when you might be having an argument or a dispute, that it's not always about what's necessarily right. It's about what support the other person might need. We've had it before with us both running our own businesses where we've been through periods of high stress, and both of us on both occasions have had to be more tolerant to the other one, just because we know that it's difficult and it's challenging. And if we were being hedonistic and selfish and just thinking about ourselves, then we wouldn't necessarily change our behaviour to support that person at the time at which they need it. So it's trying to be emotionally intelligent and be aware of those kinds of things. The next really big thing is trust. So if you look at... So what's a good example? So a classic thing that breaks up relationships is people cheating on each other. Right, so if you think someone cheats on somebody, it's the end of the tether and the other person leaves, right? So is it the cheating that is the real reason why people break up? Well, it's certainly the event, but I don't think it's the real reason. I think the real reason that kind of thing ends relationships is that it's the actual breaching of trust. Because I think once you've lost that trust and something like that happens, I think it would be very difficult to get it back. So something me and Amy have always had is that we have such trust for each other that we just don't question each other. We don't need to. It's just there. And I remember early on in our relationship when we were long distance, we'd often have it where people would say to us, "Oh, but Andrew's there in university in Birmingham. Don't you trust that he's not off universitying other girls and all this sort of thing?" And it's like, no, we've had this trust and it's been there since the beginning of the relationship and it's still there now. I mention this because I think that there are many ways that you can breach trust beyond cheating on your partner. I think there are tons of ways. I think dishonesty in general is a huge killer of relationships, and I think that everybody needs to be very cautious not to do things that would just don't be dishonest in your relationship. Yeah, if you're in a relationship with somebody, they need to be an extension of you, and you need to be in a position whereby, if you're going to do something, that trust is there. You are a team. Yeah, you are a team. So what have we learnt 10 years on? I mean, we just always try to make an effort to do things for each other. We're always trying to, this year we've done lots of things on the weekends. Both of our friendship circles are shared. I don't have my lad friends and then Amy has a girlfriend, so we try and keep it all aligned. We go on date nights every week, and I think that that's something that we're going to continue to do for a long time. So those are some parting thoughts, unless you've got anything to add on that, Amy.
Just be good to each other.
Just be good to each other. Just be good to each other.
In regards to the trust thing, it's making every decision for yourself and for your partner. It has to be about both of you. You can't make a decision that just benefits you if it has a negative impact on your partner. It has to have a benefit. It has to have a positive benefit for both of you. Otherwise, you shouldn't be doing it.
There you go. So, nice little love message for you all there on a Sunday. So, happy weekend, everybody. I'll speak to you tomorrow.